Doobie or not Doobie, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler to miss a rocking concert by the Doobies at your very own school, or to take money and tickets from a stranger in exchange for bootlegging the concert. Aye, there's the... Listen, it's the Doobie Brothers episodes of What's Happening. Nuff said. Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to Battle of the Network shows. I'm Mike. What's happening?
Hey. I'm Rick.
And today it's our season finale.
Yes, another great season.
Yeah,
Thanks
it's
everybody
weird.
that's followed along with us, but yeah, here we are.
I mean, it feels like we're only halfway through the season.
It really does. It's interesting.
Yeah.
TV time, you know, it can be somewhat elastic.
And today we're going to be talking about a sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say classic, but I'm not sure that's the word.
Well, a sitcom with definitely has its followers.
I feel like it's had a large shelf life for only being on 3 seasons.
Yeah, it's really an enduring show of the era.
Yeah. So that's What's Happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you, much like me with St. Elsewhere, really did a big dive into this show, right?
Yeah, let's face it, this is really much more impressive accomplishment than what you did. You watched all episodes of St. Elsewhere.
Yeah.
I watched all episodes of What's Happening.
Right. So I watched 100+ episodes of a hour-long drama.
True.
We're, of course, including the commercial length for
Yes.
ease of math.
Yeah.
And you watched 65 half hours.
Yes. I did, yes.
Okay.
It's interesting, yes.
Now, you did watch them on DVD, which meant you occasionally had to eject the DVD.
Right. It was quite a hardship.
Yeah. There's some physical getting up, sitting down again.
I almost cut my finger one time by closing it too quickly and almost getting my finger caught in the DVD player. But I soldiered on and made it through. But
did you ever accidentally put a disc you had already watched in and start watching? Like, wait, I've seen this.
That did not happen because I was very meticulous in my arrangement of What's Happening in episodes. Even though in the DVD set, the current version out is a, shall we say, budget edition without a lot of packaging elements.
Right.
So that makes it a little bit difficult, but I managed because I wanted to watch the show in chronological order, the way it was meant to be seen. Mm-hmm. Really, to appreciate what's happening, you kind of have to watch from the beginning and go to the end.
Yes,
I mean,
deep continuity and character evolution.
Yes, things pay off. I mean, storylines pay off. Well, maybe that's not true, but I did enjoy it, and I didn't necessarily have to watch all 65 episodes of What's Happening, but I did because I wanted to, and I felt semi-rewarded by that, Mike. And I got the DVDs as a holiday present this year, and decided to just started watching them, and really the show held up surprisingly. It held up better than I thought during the beginning of the show's run, but was not as well as I thought towards the end of it. So really, I think like the first season is great. The second season you kind of see some transition, and then the third season is disappointing. But it's a fun show. Yeah. If you're into like sitcoms of this era, I watched it all the time growing up. It was again only 65 episodes. You keep hearing 100 episodes is the magic number, but this series was 65 episodes, and I think they combined it with What's Happening Now in some areas. But I recall just really watching the What's Happening Now, which was later was. I remember this being on in syndication before What's Happening Now.
Yeah, I remember it being on in the summer. I feel like it was it rotated in and out with other shows, but it certainly was on a lot.
Yeah, to me it was like a classic come home from school and kind of before dinner kind of sitcom show. And I think one of the articles I read, like the website TV Party had like a big epic article about What's Happening, and I think that was the website that made the connection that it was good for that because it was sort of like a transition show because it was good for after cartoons but before like serious stuff, and it was kind of like for kids but adults would watch it kind of too. Yeah. And it was only on 3 seasons, but apparently it went off the air for some behind the scenes reasons as well as ratings. It was
I did see that.
A modest ratings hit, I'd say. It did pretty well, but
Ernest Carter Raj didn't want to return?
Yeah, I think both of them.
Or Rerun, somebody.
Rerun I think Rerun caused a lot of troubles throughout the show's run, but a couple times when he did holdouts, Ernest Thomas, a.k.a.
Ernest
Raj,
Thomas,
he would join him. So there were a couple of like contract disputes and some stuff going on behind the scenes that plagued the show over the years. And I think after 3 seasons, it seems like the creators just decided, well, it's not worth it, and just ended the show. Even though it seemed like it could have gone on a little bit more. And in fact, they revived it later, partly because it did so well in reruns and brought back What's Happening Now, which to me that's definitely inferior version of the show. I would not recommend that, but so we're going to focus on What's Happening. But
I can't imagine a show where they have to be adults. The charm of it is.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the contrived nature of it.
Between.
Like the place they hang out at, Rob's place, the soda shop. Raj winds up being a co-owner of that, I guess, with Shirley. And just them owning the shop together seems a little weird. But the odd thing is What's Happening Now, which was in first run syndication in the 80s, that actually lasted 66 episodes. It had one more episode than the series that spawned it. And kind of a weird quirk there.
Yeah.
But yeah, What's Happened was 3 seasons and on ABC, and did fairly well. 1976 to 1979 started as a summer series and did so well that they rushed it into production for the fall of that year. Which looking at the timeline, I thought, well, there must be some mistake that started out as a summer season. How would they know? How would they have it on the fall schedule? But they did something. I guess the early episodes were so good that they rushed it into production and it replaced Mr. T and Tina, a kind of notorious ABC flop, with Pat Morita as Mr. T, not
Mr.
B.A.
T.
Baracus, Mr. T. But they pulled that and I think put What's Happening in there to replace it.
Right. So that counts as part of the first season, right?
Yes. So it's really kind of they consider it like part of the first season, even though it was originally intended as a summer series.
Now in the second season, did they have to delay that at all? Because I read like Danielle Spencer was in some sort of horrible car accident.
Yeah, she was, but I don't think so. I think she missed a few episodes.
Okay.
And maybe with the production schedules, but yeah, and apparently she had some kind of like major surgery, but I didn't watching the episodes. I didn't notice anything.
Stepdad died.
Yeah,
and I mean she's had issues from it as an adult too.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible. Originally, the show was based on a movie called Cooley High, which was an American International Pictures special in the mid-70s. That was written and conceived by Eric Monti, who we talked about co-created Good Times. I don't know if we talked about the fact that Eric Monti eventually became a homeless crack addict.
No.
But that happened. Yeah. And I guess his claim for years that he was kind of ripped off by Norman Lear as residuals on Good Times. And
I mean, he's clearly kind of ripped off here.
Yeah, has not had a lot of good results, but
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if maybe the WGA wasn't as good at arbitration kind of things back then. Because the impression I get is that there was the intent to do a sitcom specifically based on Cooley High. ABC didn't like the pilot and had them rename the character.
Yeah,
and change it a little bit, but
and they moved the setting
to LA
from Chicago to LA. Yeah. The Cooley High movie was actually set in the same project that like Good Times, was inspired by.
Right.
But by the way, I'd recommend Cooley High is a great movie for anybody that hasn't seen it. It has Clint Turman and Lawrence Hilton Jacobs and a solid cast in it. And it starts out, it's a little episodic in places, but it's kind of like a slice of life thing. And as a really strong like Motown soundtrack at a time when I guess you had American Graffiti a few years earlier, but it really like pops off like all the music that's in it, and it's a little humor, a little drama. Garrett Morris has like a dramatic role in it, so like just before Saturday Night Live, I guess. So yeah, I'd recommend Cooley High. But the series, there's some elements of it, like the fact that like the main character wants to be a writer. That's still there. Other than that, not a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I really think the first season of What's Happening, in the beginning of it, like the first summer episodes, the first handful of episodes, they're a lot closer in tone to what Cooley High was trying to do than what the show became. The show did become more of like a kind of just like a more juvenile sitcom that happened to have like a minority setting and stuff. But the early ones, there seemed to be like a more distinct set of like the sense of the culture and kind of things and like just kind of like the blackness, kind of like where they lived and everything. It stood out a little bit more, whereas it became just more interchangeable and a little bit more silly as it went on.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to lean into the socially relevant kind of thing.
Yeah, they steered clear of that, definitely.
Like it's just a show about people hanging out.
Yeah, and that might have been kind of the influence of, I guess, one of the big things was Fred Silverman, the man with the golden gut, who I guess was one of the ones that spearheaded the transition from what they originally filmed into the show.
I wonder, I guess to some people in maybe the black community, they didn't like the show because it maybe seemed to be playing in stereotypes and wasn't addressing the culture directly. But I wonder if that could also be a positive in a way.
Yeah.
Like in terms of normalization.
Yeah.
Or is it a negative because what you want to normalize is actually showing the real culture?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Like Good Times was more explicitly about some of quote unquote ghetto issues and stuff.
Yeah.
What's Happening did get into some of that stuff, but it was more like there's an episode where they do like quotas or something in the high school, and like Dee is kind of a victim of it because they need like another white cheerleader on the team or something like that, and they sort of get into and then there's like a Hispanic, I think, that winds up getting so they sort of get into like touching on issues of affirmative action, and they do have episodes with like racism, but it's really not as prevalent. And Mabel King, who played Mama, was kind of like originally like one of the big gets of the show, and she was she was playing like in The Wiz on Broadway. It was left that essentially for this sitcom, and she was a domestic. I mean, she was a maid for like a white family, and there were a few episodes that sort of touched on like that, but it was more like class than racism, I think, in the show. So if you're looking for social relevance, What's Happening is not really where you want to go. Like even something like Sanford and Son, race was more of a theme in that.
Right.
But, I mean, you are seeing like a sitcom with African-American characters who, and a lot of times, especially, as I said, like in the first season and a half, they love each other and they have interesting family relationships. And I think there's something to be said for that. Mm-hmm. And probably, I can't speak for minorities, but a lot of minority viewers probably appreciated just seeing that on TV.
I watched a handful of season 1 episodes, and actually I found them pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
And I found that my memory was not liking Dee a whole lot. Mm-hmm. But actually, I really enjoyed the really caustic, truth-telling Dee of season 1. Like, because I think it wasn't just her being like the precocious kid. It was just that she said whatever was on her mind.
Yeah.
And happened to be pretty smart. But she's just so blunt with everyone. And,
right.
and I guess the second season too, at least a little bit. But also, like there were a couple episodes you recommended that had their dad, and like I got the sense. It wasn't really said, but there was like the sense of like she had a reason to be that way. Like she was angry at him, and there was something in the actress's face that seemed like kind of like vulnerable or a little shaky or something around him. But on the other hand, in the episode, the Burger Queen episode with DVP, she was just being blunt, and it was great.
Yeah,
blunt in the context of like businessmen and stuff. And just calling their hamburgers jackass meat. And stuff.
Right. Yeah, they're doing like she was they were there to do commercials for the product, and she hated the burgers and was not shy about letting them know. Yeah, and well, it's interesting because like Mabel King apparently left the show partly because like she thought that they should have like two parents, like a mother father, and that was her vision of the show. Mm-hmm. And she was being de-emphasized anyway and written out, which is a shame because again, I'm going to say she was a force of nature. Yeah. But a very talented performer, but the show clearly pushed away from her and de-emphasized her, and re-emphasized Dee, I guess. And to me, like the thing about Dee is she had probably the reputation that she's a terrible actress, maybe, to be blunt. But I think actually she improves over the course of the show, and I think you do see it, especially by season 2. However, they sort of defang her character a little bit at the same time. So I think as she grows as a performer, her character becomes less interesting, and they kind of like smooth out her edges a little bit. Like the episode that we're going to talk about, not quite, but when you get to season 3, when the show really goes off the rails a little bit, it's just the whole reason for Dee being there is it's just bad. Well, they revamp the show and bring on a cute kid that we've talked about, who has a crush on like this white kid that lives in the same apartment where Rerun and Raj move into, and he has a crush on her. So really, like a lot of her stuff is reacting to the fact that this little kid is mooning over her, and it really just kind of ruins everybody's character. Yeah. So, but I mean that's season 3, and I mean the core of the show is really about kids hanging out. Yeah. But just like, high school kids and their like situations and stuff. But it also gets into the family life a little bit. By season 3, Mom is out of the picture. Shirley's kind of like the surrogate mother. Shirley, the sarcastic waitress at Rob's place, and Dwayne is still around, but Raj and Rerun are living together in their apartment. It's just not the same.
Yeah. So, yeah, and you mentioned them all, but we got Raj, who's the lead.
Bespectacled. You sort of assume that he's smart because he's got glasses and because he wants to be a writer, but he does a lot of dumb things.
Yeah.
He's vain, too. Like in a nice way, but...
And Dwayne, who's a little younger.
Yeah, he's like a year younger, I think, naive.
Yeah, scared of the dark.
Yeah, kind of like the most childlike character, to be sure.
Yeah, and Rerun, played by Fred Berry, who I guess is called Rerun because he can't get out of high school.
Yeah, he's perpetually held back.
Yeah, and he's, of course, the beret-wearing, suspender-wearing, dancing. He's Rerun.
And I'll just say this here. Like, I found, it's been a couple months since I watched any of these episodes except the one we're talking about. But I kind of noticed, and this might be just me retroactively kind of retrofitting things, but I got the impression, like, midway through the second season, I do think at some point, and maybe even earlier, I think the show's producers decided Rerun was the breakout star and try to find more things for him to do and try to get his dancing into the show more. And I think it hurt the series. I think it was better when it focused on like the family element of it and kind of the extended family. When they had more episodes with Rerun and trying to give him like a showcase, it kind of hurt the show a little bit, I think. But he was clearly the breakout star and he knew it, and one of the reasons he held out a couple of times wanting to get more money.
Yeah.
And actually he did the same thing on What's Happening Now. He came back and insisted on like a certain amount of pay, and then they wrote him out of the show because he wanted an increase after the first season, I think.
Jeez. So he's only in one season of What's Happening Now?
Yes, he might have made more recurring. I think he was a regular in the first season, and then second and third season he wasn't a regular.
Well, I don't know.
Raj and Dwayne were.
Okay. It's easier to imagine them as adults than Rerun. Although I guess he technically already was an adult.
Yeah.
I don't know. Based on something that happens in this show, he's much, much older than...
Yeah. Well...
Or he's closer to the actor's age than the...
Right. And Rerun seems to have a good heart.
Yeah.
But he's also prone to being swindled, and...
Right.
And a lot of times he becomes just kind of an excuse for fat jokes.
Yeah, there are a lot of fat jokes.
Yeah.
And then he and Shirley, who's also big, exchanging fat jokes.
Right. Shirley and Rerun go back and forth a lot.
Yeah.
And Shirley, sort of a caustic character, but very capable waitress. And again, she's a performer that started out like doing like stand-up and stuff. And I think she improves as an actress over the course of the series too. And there's some episodes that kind of more spotlight her character. And I think she's pretty good. She's much better than you would have a right to expect her to be. And there's some episodes where, she's not Cicely Tyson or anything, but she can do like... There's some more scenes that show like a softer side of Shirley, and whatever the case of like her acting ability, she's an entertaining television presence, and she's funny. I mean, she just is.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about 2 episodes, but really, if you're going to talk about 2 episodes, it's going to be these 2 episodes.
Yeah, we don't normally pick like the most famous episode of a series. We try to avoid that a little bit. Yeah. But in this case, I think it was just such a great episode. I think we couldn't resist, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's great in an unironic way, but
well,
all of the season 1 episodes I watched were funnier episodes, like intentionally funnier episodes than these. But
it's a stunt episode.
It is. But
one of my favorite episodes of the show is the first season Christmas episode. But I didn't want to necessarily do an off-season Christmas episode, so we went with this. And Doobie or not Doobie?
Yes.
That is the name of the episode. And
yes,
this is the Doobie Brothers bootlegging episode.
Right.
And if you've seen it, you know what we're talking about. If not, I recommend you check it out. You're in for a treat.
If you are unaware of what bootlegging is, this is a place to learn.
Yes.
I think this is where I learned what bootlegging was.
We get quite a tutorial.
Yeah.
Yeah, from all sides of the spectrum.
I'm not 100% sure it's an accurate portrayal.
Before we really get into the episode, Mike.
Yeah.
I have something that I discovered in my research that I think this is a first for Battle of the Network shows.
Whoa.
This is a 2-part episode. Episodes 16 and 17, right in the midway point of season 2, and they premiered January 28th, 1978, and February 4th, 1978, on ABC television network. Now, here's what's distinctive about this. On January 28th, 1978, the same night as part 1 of this premiered, also on that night was an episode of TV that we have talked about on this very podcast.
Whoa.
So this is the first time we've had 2 episodes that we've spotlighted aired on the same night.
Huh.
Can you guess what that episode was?
What year is this again? 1978?
This is yes, January 28th, 1978, And the show moved a couple times, but I believe this was on a Saturday night.
No, I have not.
Love Boat.
Oh.
The Winner Take Love, Congressman was indiscreet, Isaac's History Lesson episode.
So these aired on I was thinking of something on another channel, too.
Oh, no. It
So
actually aired on the same
network,
night.
Same night, all right.
So it separated only by an episode of Operation Petticoat.
Wow.
The Love Boat that we talked about, and this What's Happening episode.
Do you know what aired after the Love Boat?
I believe I do not, actually. Well, actually, wait a minute. If I can read my own handwriting, I don't know what it was. Yes, I do not. I do not know. But Bionic Woman was on NBC.
Okay.
And CBS had Bob Newhart and the Tony Randall Show, which is kind of interesting to think of the Bob Newhart Show being on in 1978.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Fantasy Island was on after
yeah.
Love Boat. Yeah.
Boy.
So they already had that killer lineup.
I don't want to paint us in a corner with Fantasy Island, but it'd be cool if we could do the whole night.
Yeah.
But now we know. I mean, like, this is a happy accident. But
Yeah. Well, Operation Petticoat was. We could maybe pick a different year. I do remember that was on RTV for a while or something. So I did see it. I think that was the John Astin was in that, based on the movie. But I just had somebody recently ask me about if we've done Fantasy Island yet, and I had to say no, it's on the list, but we're waiting kind of more for availability on that. I think.
Exactly.
But we definitely want to get to that. So yeah, that's what's happening. I thought that was an interesting little quirk there. So shall we get into this?
Yeah.
You want to talk about the theme song and opening sequence of what's happening, because it rules.
Yeah, I have, I guess, mixed feelings about the theme song.
Composed by Henry Mancini.
Yeah, that's weird. It seems both to fit the show and not fit the show. Like, it fits the show, and then it's sort of a relaxed summer afternoon.
Yeah.
Laid back. And, like, that fits because it is mostly about these kids just hanging out.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's like weirdly like, well, maybe I'm just stereotyping. I guess it doesn't have to be R&B influenced, but other than a few little instruments that don't sound like Henry Mancini instruments.
Yeah.
It's not what, like, if you said, well, if you just put up 3 random theme songs and said which one is about African American kids hanging out, I don't know if that's the one I would pick.
True.
But I do like the visuals.
I think, how should I put this? Let me see. I think if you were to pick, like, which theme song is going to be about, like, Shirley Hemphill, Mabel King, and maybe Fred Berry, I think you might, like, doing wacky things, you might pick this song. You know what I mean?
I think so.
It seems appropriate for that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it does kind of have that feel of, like, oh, just kind of hanging out, and like the organ. I like the organ break in the middle of the. I mean, it just really, and then the closing theme has it shows the characters like dribbling a basketball on a sidewalk, kind of just kind of like as the credits roll. I was
Like
kind of
the
like
whole
that
time.
too. Yeah, yeah. And
Which
then
is in the opening, but
the opening credits show them, like, kind of picking up, and, like, I think Rerun's drinking a soda pop or something, like, waving, and
they
you know what it reminds me
they're trying
of?
to get a ride.
Yeah, it reminds me of, like, Sanford and Son, which was, Bud Yorkin was involved in both shows, and it kind of reminds me, like, it kind of wondered if, like, maybe they tried to emulate that beginning a little bit, like some sort of the general tone of it and feel, kind of the instrumental makes me kind of wonder, but
and it doesn't match a show with 2 exclamation points in the title.
Yeah, you don't think it's enough?
A piece of music with no exclamation points. It's like a piece of music with negative exclamation points.
Boy, I don't know. I got to disagree with you. You don't think it's not brassy enough to merit the either of the exclamation points?
Not the music. The show is.
I don't know. Yeah, okay. Well,
it's just it's very.
Originally, What's Happening was going to have 3 exclamation points in the title, but Fred Silverman wanted to cut back at ABC, so he got rid of an exclamation mark in the title. Which,
he knows.
Yeah,
he knows how to budget.
Again,
that's what you get when you have a line item.
Yeah.
Budget.
Yeah. He was able to do that. Yep. So okay, so we get back to the theme song, and we open enough at Rob's place, right?
Yes.
Which is like their hangout, and other than Raj's living room, the main set of the show. And these episodes, it really is the main set of the show, I guess.
Yeah. And Dwayne and Raj are getting down to a song I couldn't quite identify, but I assume is a Doobie Brothers song.
Yeah, it's the Doobies. The Doobies. They're jiving to the Doobies. And I can't remember which song it was, but I think it might have been. I can't remember which one it was.
Well, it's on the jukebox.
It was a contemporary Doobie Brothers song, on the jukebox. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're really into it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And much like some certain people in a steakhouse, They're waiting for a friend to arrive with tickets.
Yes, it's a good connection.
Unfortunately, this friend is not a genius.
No.
He's a rerun.
No, yes, and yeah, he has failed them.
Yeah.
He stopped to get a burger at McDonald's, although they don't say it, but later we see that the packaging.
Yes.
I guess he stopped to get a hamburger and avoided. Now, one thing that's going to be so the Doobie Brothers are playing a fundraiser at the lads' high school, Jefferson High or whatever. But one thing that I found odd right off the bat is it's hard to get tickets, but you'd think that it would be kind of easy for wouldn't you think that the high school kids would be able to get tickets to their own show?
You think, yeah. One, if it's a fundraiser, you would think maybe it wouldn't be at the school.
Yeah.
The students would get free tickets.
Right.
Or like $1 or something. Yeah. And then a paying audience would do the fundraising part.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to be the deal at all.
No, and Shirley's like, she got tickets. And,
yeah.
And she's proud of it, and it's a hot item.
Yeah, but yeah, you would think they would. Also, I feel like they shouldn't have entrusted Rerun to this job.
No, that was a big misfire right there. Yeah. One thing we should mention, probably now is as good a time as any, is as similar to the fact that I watched all the What's Happening episodes, you listened to all the Doobie Brothers albums.
Oh, no.
And music. Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay.
No.
I thought you did.
In fact, I didn't even take the time to look up all the names of the songs they were playing.
Well, I do want to mention, though, that it's almost kind of a punchline now, Doobie Brothers, and we're on What's Happening, and it was kind of weird, but the Doobie Brothers were very, very popular at the time.
Yeah.
Like, they were a top 10, like, really best-selling band, so this was a big deal for them to be on that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, it wasn't a joke to have the Doobie Brothers on there, or to have the Doobie Brothers be so coveted and act. Now, it is kind of unusual that they picked, like, a predominantly white band.
Right.
On this particular show, but the Doobie Brothers did have crossover appeal and were a very popular rock R&B act, and this was the Michael McDonald era when they were kind of moving even more towards R&B than their original origins, with one of the co-founders who had left at this point. So,
boy, you sound like you know a lot about the Doobie Brothers.
Well, there's just you pick up things here and there. What could I say?
All I know is that music is the doctor.
It makes you feel like you want to.
Yeah. Did they come back on What's Happening Now to play that? I'm sure that happened after What's Happening Now.
They should have, yeah. Yeah, well, that's one of the fascinating things about the Doobie Brothers is that Michael McDonald left, and then the founder came back, and then they made a hit, The Doctor, that sounded just like one of their first hits, China Grove.
Yeah.
And they had like this big comeback in the MTV era.
Right.
So.
And now they've sadly dwindled to only 3 Doobie Brothers.
Yeah.
And Skunk Baxter is advising the Pentagon.
Yeah. Skunk Baxter's predominant in this episode.
He is.
Was a long-time Doobie, but not anymore.
No.
But they're still around. I mean, the Doobie Brothers, and they're apparently a successful touring act.
Yeah.
So good for them.
Yeah, good for them.
Maybe we should go see them this summer, maybe. I'll bet they're coming around here for the show.
Yeah, they probably are.
Maybe we could get a press pass to go talk to them through the podcast. Well, anyways.
Let's look into that.
I did want to, in all seriousness, I did want to mention that the Doobie Brothers, some of our listeners who weren't around back then might not realize how popular the Doobie Brothers were. They had a string of like 3 or 4 top 10 albums and hit number 1 with a couple of songs. Like I think What a Fool Believes was real popular, like either right before or right after this show came out. So, it was kind of unusual for a band that popular to be on a sitcom, and I'm still not exactly sure. Even after listening to Michael McDonald talk about it recently, I'm still not exactly sure how or why it happened, but it did. So
right, it is another one of those. What happened first?
Yeah.
Did they want to do an episode about bootlegging and look for a band, or did the Doobie Brothers really want to come to different sitcoms and pitch this idea?
I'd like to think that there was some kind of sleazy music industry thing going on here, that somebody else got something out of this deal, and the Doobie Brothers got nothing out of this, except exposure that they probably didn't need at that point.
Somehow Don Kirshner was involved.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So the guys figure out that Rerun doesn't have the tickets,
and then two guys hanging out in the Rob's kind of eavesdropping, one might say, on what's going on.
And one of them is the great Theodore Wilson.
Yeah.
Hero of mine from Good Times and That's My Mama. He was a regular on that sitcom. Which, might be able to talk about that someday.
And I was watching like, boy, that guy looks familiar, and then was looking him up, and it turns he was in one of the other episodes that I watched.
Yeah. He played I think he was in at least 2 or 3. I know he was
There's
a
multiple
father on
characters.
one.
Yeah, he was in that party one.
Yeah, yeah. He was,
That's like the first episode, right?
oh, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was in the first episode, and yeah, he was in several episodes playing different characters.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I would like to see this Al Dunbar character he's playing here return because he's slick.
He is. He seems like he's got a lot of different schemes going on.
Yeah.
I hope so. Doesn't seem like it. I wouldn't base my whole business plan on bootlegging concerts.
Yeah, especially suckering gullible teenagers into doing it for you.
Right.
Or however old Rerun is.
Right.
A lot of Rerun's home life is a mystery in his personal background, but yeah.
Yeah.
He's been in school a long time.
He has brothers. But I get like Raj and Dwayne leave, and these guys zero in on Rerun. And Al Dunbar, he claims he's good friends with the Doobies.
Oh, yeah.
And he needs a favor from Rerun. I'll get him a ticket. I'll get him tickets. He just needs him to, do a little something. But Rerun can't tell the Doobies that he's going to record this concert. Because that would just make them, nervous.
That's right.
It wouldn't be an honest show then.
That's right. The big stars get all nervous and shy when they're being recorded.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
So he's going to get him tickets, and he's going to give him a sound engineer's payment, which is $4.
Yeah.
And, he just has to do this little thing.
Sounds simple enough.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Raj is scheming for a way for them to get tickets. He thinks he can get a press pass. That's why they leave. He thinks he can get a press pass.
Yes.
Because he's the editor of the school paper.
Right.
And Dwayne's dad is some sort of politician, and maybe he can get them a press pass.
So each go through their avenues.
Yeah. And none of that works.
Right.
But Raj does line up an interview with the Doobie Brothers.
Yes.
So that's something.
That's good, yeah. I mean, they get to go see them rehearse.
Yeah, and Dee cons her way into going along.
Yeah.
And Rerun, they all go. And, check out this rehearsal. Get yelled at by a manager.
Yeah.
Get a little scolded by
the manager
Doobies.
was really uptight.
Yeah.
I did write down the songs they did play during the rehearsal.
Oh, good.
They did Echoes of Love.
Uh-huh.
And Little Darling.
Yeah.
Little Darling is more of a Michael McDonald number, and Echoes of Love is more of an ensemble kind of thing. But
yeah.
So you Doobie fans, that's what they do in this episode.
And Dee sasses all of them really, but I definitely wrote down that she sassed Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
Because that was pretty cool.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. And Patrick Simmons, one of the founders and leaders, remembers Rerun and says, hey, something like, hey, Rerun, I remember you from Mrs. So-and-so's class. Nice of you to come back. He's like, come back? I never left.
Yeah, so I did look all that up. First of all, Patrick Simmons is the Doobie brother who always reminds me of Gary Sandy from WKRP. So I have mixed feelings about knowing his name now.
I'm sorry.
No, I knew it from the show.
Yeah, okay.
Because they keep pointing out that, Pat was the one who went to school here.
Yeah.
But, based on real life ages of Pat Simmons and Rerun, those two people probably could have gone to high school together. Mm. Patrick Simmons was born in 1948, and Fred Berry was born in 1951.
Yeah.
But in the world of what's happening, this is what, in 1978 or 9?
It aired beginning of 1978.
78. So that would mean... So Patrick Simmons is 30.
Yeah.
So it's been a good 12 years since he graduated.
Something like that, probably. Yeah.
So Rerun has been in high school for the length that most people are in school.
Well, they do make jokes to that effect, but this is the first time that you really think, wow.
So he's like 28 or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
27.
Yeah. If you think about it too much, it makes Rerun's situation more tragic than funny.
Yes. And most schools would give up at some point.
Yeah, just give them a chance to take a GED or something.
Yeah, they don't want a 27-year-old.
No, it's usually not good.
14-year-olds.
No. I mean, it's like a 21 Jump Street kind of situation.
Yes. That would be a good show.
Yeah.
Rerun as a narc.
Yeah. Yeah, at some point, that would be an interesting show where, like, the younger kids, like, don't want to hang out with Rerun because they assume he is a narc.
Yeah.
And he's got to, like, just prove to them that he's not.
Right.
And then eventually he does become one.
Yeah. Or where he is one, every school he goes to, his lieutenants, you need a different outfit. No,
yeah.
It's like, this is my thing.
Right.
Beret, suspenders.
Yeah. That's how I'm a high school student. Otherwise, I wouldn't look like a high school student.
Yeah.
This just keeps me young.
And from what I could tell, the Rerun's sartorial choices are actually Fred Berry's choices.
Yeah.
Like he had made a name for himself by dancing and dressing like that.
Yes, I think you're right, and we should point out too that eventually Fred Berry changed his name legally to Rerun. So, whether again, it's another which came first kind of situation. But there's definitely some blurring of the lines, if you will.
Yeah.
And when I say blurring, and when I say line, well, no, let's not go there right now. But yes, that was part of the scenario too.
And so while they're hanging out in this rehearsal, like Michael McDonald invites Dee to come as his guest.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, and somewhere in here, one of my favorite lines, they do address the situation where they all introduce each other, and Dee turns to the one black guy, the bassist.
Yeah.
And says, "Brothers, what are you, a half brother?" Because they say they stick together like brothers, you know.
Right. Yeah.
She kind of looks at him.
We're not really brothers.
Yeah. What are you, a half brother? They had to address it.
Yeah. And I like all the Doobies when she says stuff to react how real human beings would probably like.
Yeah.
Puzzled looks.
Right. Yes.
What is going on here?
Yes.
Like nobody in her, the people who know her never react that way.
No.
It's only when she's encountering these outside people.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
What is up with this kid?
Yeah.
And then, Raj starts doing his interview. He's a little nervous, but he asks, what's the biggest problem they face?
Yeah, I like how he asked that question. That's a perfectly natural question, right?
Yeah.
If you got limited time to like a multi-platinum selling artist that comes to your school, you ask like, what really bothers you the most?
Yeah.
Or what's your biggest problem?
And of course, it's bootlegs.
Yeah. What do you know? They hate bootleggers, don't they?
And because first of all, they lose money.
Yeah.
But also the quality is bad.
Yeah.
So it hurts the fans.
Yeah. People get a bad recording.
Yeah.
And the record label doesn't get any money.
Now, right, the record. I don't care about the record label.
Well, the Doobies do.
They do. That's good of them. But the record label wouldn't get money from a concert. I guess it would from a live album.
I guess from a legit live album release, maybe.
And the publisher, if they don't own their own publishing, they're losing money.
Yeah. And again, remember, live albums were a big deal back then.
Yeah. Now, I'm not a real big fan of bootlegging. I mean, now it doesn't matter. Everybody's recording stuff on their phones. And I just am pretty sure the music industry has given up on that, on live music. And are benefiting from it, probably.
Yeah.
From people posting stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or the artists are benefiting from.
Right, embracing it and releasing their own.
Yeah, and if you see a cool clip on YouTube, you might go see them. Mm-hmm. So, but I wonder about how much it really was damaging the record industry.
Yeah.
Or musicians. I mean, I think bootlegs of like unreleased material, like the basement tapes and all that kind of stuff is possibly more damaging because it's either the artist didn't want it out there or they're just not earning money on stuff they didn't release.
Yeah. I agree with you.
I don't know about the live ones.
It sounds to me like more like record industry propaganda.
Yeah.
Like and trying to put their side of it out there, but really, how much did it cost? I don't know. Even like this is the same industry that probably fought against being able to sell blank cassette tapes so you could record stuff off the radio or something like that.
I'm pretty sure they did.
No, granted, they probably lost some money off people selling bootleg tapes and stuff.
Yeah.
Of like commercially available albums and stuff, but
right.
Ultimately, I think it was probably a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, I'm sure they fought the dual cassette recorder for that reason.
Yeah.
Cassette recorders combined with vinyl and that kind of thing. But
any kind of thing to empower the consumer. Now, I don't condone bootlegging. We're not saying that, but
no.
The argument may have been a little overblown in this episode, making it seem like really hurting the fans.
Right, and you could go to jail for a very long time.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, for bootlegging. And let's face it, like the equipment that Rerun has is not high-end audio equipment.
No, I mean, it's what they give them.
Yeah.
My mom had that same tape recorder.
Oh, yeah?
Or one similar to that. I mean, it really is just a basic cassette recorder. Or like the kind you would have seen in school attached to the film strip machine.
Yeah. It's something like Dee probably could have gotten it for Christmas one year under the Christmas tree. It's not a very sophisticated...
no. I think in
even for then.
One of those other episodes, that tenant they had briefly, Gene, the track guy.
Yeah.
He's walking around with one of those, like, hung over his shoulder. Like, that's the pre-Walkman.
Yeah. Gene, who died under mysterious circumstances.
The actor? Or the
the actor.
Okay.
I can't remember. He was kind of a weird, odd recurring character where they had a tenant for a while. And he was in Thank God It's Friday. He was the DJ. And look him up, folks. We'll put something in the show notes about him.
A movie called Thank God It's Friday?
Yeah.
Not the
one of the
Growing Pains episode.
No. I refer to the disco movie, Thank God It's Friday.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, Rerun does not, and they didn't even give him like a microphone attachment or anything. So
Correct. Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
Definitely would have been a
disappointing.
terrible bootleg.
Not good preparation by Al Dunbar. I don't know if he's gotten away with this. Well, I guess he has, but
Yeah, and then how much money is he going to make off? I mean,
don't
where
know.
is he selling these things?
Yeah.
He's got to pay his muscle too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some holes in Al Dunbar's business plan. To be
Yeah.
sure.
This must be a side hustle.
Yeah. Right.
And he apparently specializes in bootlegging the Doobies.
Yeah. Yeah. He follows the Doobies around
Right.
around the country.
Yeah. They're describing it perfectly, the situation too, and Rerun's getting all
Yeah.
guilty.
Getting all nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rerun tries to back out of this.
He does.
But,
Yeah, because, I mean, he is a good-natured guy.
Yeah, but he can't.
No, because that Bruno, the dude with Al Dunbar,
The muscle, yeah.
yeah, he rips a stool out of the floor.
Yeah.
It robs play.
He means business.
Yeah.
So there's definitely the threat of physical violence if they back out of it. So they're into it.
Yeah. And then we had to be continued and a preview of the next episode, which I don't know. I think it might have contained almost every scene, non-music scene from the next episode.
Yeah.
Which speaks both to how long that preview was and how little non-music stuff there is in the next episode.
Unless I made a mistake with the DVD, and again, this is not a high-end Blu-ray of what's happening.
Yeah.
There's no previously on in the second episode, at least not on the DVD.
No.
Which is unusual. It starts seeing some stuff that we've already seen in the end of. But I'm assuming that it aired with a previously on part one, and I gotta tell you, I was crushed that it didn't have one because one of my favorite things in TV is the last time on. Have somebody in character say,
Right.
What you saw in the last episode, and I would have loved to have heard, Dee just say last time on What's Happening,
Yeah.
but we didn't get it. I'm sure it aired like that. What's Happening historians, let me know, reach out to me because I want to see that clip. I want to see the original intro that was sadly left off this DVD.
But at the beginning, we see Rerun with the cassette recorder and he's wearing a trench coat over his normal stuff. And they test the recorder. Rerun and Raj sing a little bit of, what is it, Moon River?
Yeah, Fly Me to the Moon?
Fly Me to the Moon, yeah. And then Rerun stuffs a bunch of food in his coat. So he's not above breaking that rule. He's going to bring his own popcorn and soda and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we get I don't know, was it like a 10, 15-minute concert?
Yeah, essentially most of the episode is the Doobies doing their fundraising concert.
All right, and the audience occasionally in shots reacting to the music.
Yeah, including one very odd montage or one stretch where they do the fades with like the close-ups of the... There's one where they have a weird shot of Dee like grooving with her tongue sticking out. And then they kind of like fade to like Raj and stuff, and it's very bizarre. Part of it looked very Spinal Tap like to me. The whole thing, really.
Yeah. But, they do seem to be actual performances.
Yeah, no.
It's pretty cool.
So the part that was really Spinal Tap to me was like the kind of the I don't know if it has a name, but there's a long instrumental thing where they do that stuff, and there's a guy beating a gong with fire.
Yeah.
And there's all this smoke in the room, and
Right.
It seems like a real fire hazard.
Yeah, I don't think any high school would let that happen.
Yeah. That was bizarre. That was like the artsy part of the performance.
Yeah.
And I bet somebody involved with the Doobie Brothers insisted on including that
Right.
as part of this show.
That was a big
They
showstopper.
get to do some hits, but they also get to show off their artistic side.
Yeah, I don't know what that thing was about or called. I mean, they got chops, so.
Yeah.
And so we got Gary Sandy on guitar.
Yeah. And occasional lead vocals.
Yeah, we got the bass player. Mm-hmm. Michael McDonald's on keyboards.
Yeah.
We got Skunk on guitar and lead guitar. And then I think there's like a drummer and two percussionists.
Yes, I think John is the drummer, and there's Bobby, who's... this is just off the... You pick up things. I don't know this. The one guy...
I did write down the names.
Okay.
At least. So there's a John Hartman, somebody named Keith Knudsen.
Oh, yeah, Keith is...
Is he one of the drummers? Percussionists?
He must be one of the extra percussionists.
Bobby Lakind, and Tyran Potter.
Yeah, he's the...
Is he the bass player?
Tyran, I think, yeah, he's the bass player, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, yeah. But then, they're doing... I think when they're doing Black Water, one of those drummer guys is out front.
Yeah.
When they do the whole a cappella hand clapping bit.
Well, that's part of their big thing is the vocalizing, the harmonies.
Right.
They all can participate in that. But
anyway, I got confused.
Yeah. Well, it is confusing.
There's a lot of Doobies.
There's a lot.
There
of
might
Doobies.
even be ancillary Doobies coming out to help with some of that stuff.
Right. Some Doobies just come out of the wings.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Was that one of the Doobies playing on gong?
That's what I'm not sure
I think
about,
that was a auxiliary Doobie.
It might be, or it might be the one that later was wearing like a top hat.
Okay.
I mean, the dude playing
Yeah.
the gong had a pirate shirt on, and that
Yeah.
guy had some pirate affectations.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
They start with Blackwater, yes.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like one of their older hits, but
Right.
big recognizable. They do "Take Me in Your Arms,"
Okay.
Remake of the old Motown song.
Uh-huh.
And there's a killer Skunk Baxter solo on that.
Yeah.
That's the one where he's like making these weird faces and like moving his guitar and like really getting into it. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. He's playing his guitar with his mustache.
Yeah. Always a showstopper.
Yeah.
Then they did that weird instrumental with the kind of artsy elements.
Which everyone was into it, but Dwayne seemed super into it.
Yeah.
Maybe he's into fire.
Yeah. It could be well, I can say that I don't remember an arson episode, but
Right.
I may have missed it.
They saved that for what's happening now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was how that series ended.
There had to have been an episode where Rob's place burned down or was under threat of
I'm
burning
sure.
down.
Yeah.
And they had to rebuild. So then they have like engaged the audience time, and their front man kind of makes he makes like a weird joke about how he had phys ed. He remembered being back there and like he learned like phys ed, like he learned how to wrestle girls into the backseat of his car or something like
Yeah,
that.
it seemed very inappropriate.
Yeah, especially for a high school audience.
Yes. With the
But,
11-year-old girls
Yeah.
in the front row.
Yeah. And
But he does say something like, "Stay educated."
yes, they do give kind of they do pay lip service to staying in school and
Yeah.
the value of an education, which I guess is why they're there.
Right.
I mean, that is kind of like it's a general fundraiser for the school, right?
Yeah.
But then they really get down to business. They say, hey, if anyone feels like dancing, now's the time, because they do Taking It to the Streets, and they show Rerun singing along and
Taking it to the streets.
taking it to the streets.
Taking it.
I know, it's kind of funny again talking about like a high school thing.
Yeah.
Like it's like it starts out. You don't know me, but I'm your brother. I was raised in this living hell.
I didn't understand any of those words.
A lot of good facial hair in the Doobie Brothers,
Oh,
and some of
yeah.
that might have been influencing the vocals a little bit. I think we're gonna have some.
What's the eligibility on that? I wonder.
Yeah, our baddie commission is gonna have to ponder this before the next awards, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Wow, that is yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think any of them didn't have facial hair.
yeah, it's gonna be well. We're looking ahead, but could there be like our first ever collective facial hair entry?
That might be a way around it.
Yeah. You know what? We're going to be darned if we do and darned if we
Yeah.
don't on that one.
I don't know if there's a lot of facial hair on other shows we talked about. So
Yeah. Well, we
Other
could
than
have an
Cliffy.
all Doobie. Yeah, there you go. All Doobie or predominantly Doobie.
Yeah.
We got some out there. I can think of some. I think there'd be
Yeah.
enough to. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Something to look forward to. Folks, hold your cards and letters.
Certainly the best song category.
Yes.
They're gonna.
Well, we promise we'll handle this with care and love as always in the baddies and professionalism.
Yes.
Don't worry, we'll do right by the categories.
That's right.
So yeah, Taken to the Streets goes with the classic Doobies a cappella and crowd dancing, but right around this time we get an abrupt end to the festivities.
He starts jumping up and down, and
Rerun.
the tape recorder falls out of
It
his
does, yeah.
off its harness because it was strapped on him somehow.
Yeah, and we get murmuring. Everybody like Rerun feels the shame of hundreds of eyes on him as everybody sees the tape recorder, and shame on you, Rerun. And the Doobies are betrayed.
Crushed.
Yeah. So I guess somehow they just go back to the
Well, the Doobies talk to them and they figure out that it's Al Dunbar.
right. I guess everybody else leaves.
Yeah.
So it's just them and the Doobies.
Yeah.
Which is I just thought was a little odd.
Right.
They just waited for everybody else to clear out, and instead of going backstage.
Yeah.
They just kind of sit there at the front of the stage, like, all right, after everybody clears out of here, we're gonna have to talk with you guys. Like, okay, and they just hang around and wait for everybody to clear out.
Yeah.
They're starting to break down some of the equipment, and the roadies, get a start and everything. But yeah, they give their side, and they say that they were compelled to do so. And
Yeah. And this was when the guy with the top hat, that was when I noticed the top hat, because he had the top hat and like a leather sort of almost a Western style duster, but then he also had like pirate boots.
That's an interesting combo, yeah.
So I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know some of what's going on.
Yeah. The band is called the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah. But yeah, they do tell the guys to go ahead and go meet Al like they're planned, or like Rerun.
Yeah,
planned.
you guys gonna meet up?
And they're like, we'll be there.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah, they just get. I like the little note of self-assurance. Yeah, we'll be there. Like they just kind of like give each other a look, and they know right away how they're gonna handle this.
Yeah.
And they show them like huddling up after they leave. They're gonna work it out, but it's like they know instantly how to take care of this.
Classic Doobie Brothers sting.
Yeah, it is.
Why wasn't there a Doobie Brothers cartoon?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Hanna-Barbera's Doobie Brothers cartoon where they solved crimes like this.
Well, if Fred Silverman vetoed it, I'm going to take back everything good thing I said about him in this episode because he missed the boat on that one.
Yeah. Acting talent, music.
Charisma.
Yeah.
Had everything.
Have one of them do a PSA at the, like a live action version of them do a PSA.
Yeah. Because they delivered some like mini PSAs throughout this.
Yeah.
Stay
in school, don't bootleg.
Yeah. So I guess we do go back to the shop, and there's like a little funny bit with kind of a long.
The guys they're stalling.
Yeah. Well, first though, Al Dunbar is in there ordering food.
Yeah.
And he does this little thing where he's ordering from the menu, and Shirley says, "Oh, I'll bet all this would," and she rattles off like prime rib or something, and
yeah.
I bet that sounds good. And oh yeah, with a side of oh yeah, and
yeah.
May I suggest some pecan pie with that? Like, oh, now you're talking, yeah. And she says, well, here you go. He's like, what's this? And she hands him a slip of paper. Your grocery list, He says, supermarkets across the street. Just seeing two pros like Shirley Hemphill and Theodore Wilson together, it made me happy. That's a little palate cleanser before we get into one of the greatest several minutes of television of the 1970s.
So the guys, Al wants his tape. Guys are stalling.
Yeah.
Because they know they're waiting for the Doobies to show up.
Yeah.
And finally they do. In every entrance to that building.
Yes.
With a couple cops, but...
Yeah, including, like, the men's room.
Yeah.
They were staked out in the men's room, too.
Yeah, I don't know how they got there.
As a matter of fact, it seemed like the ones with the cops came with the... They came from the men's room, I think, so the cop was in there with them, I guess.
Right.
I guess the cop figured it was better to be in the men's room than buy an exit.
He wanted to make sure they weren't, living up to their name.
Yeah. He's multitasking.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on several different crimes.
We'll partner with you, but...
Yeah. So Al and his associate are trying to leave.
Yeah.
And they keep encountering, like, members of the Doobies each way they try to go out. Like
that's when having, like, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... A 7-piece band really comes in.
Yeah, it does, yes. Yeah. It's tough to run a good bootlegging sting without... those extra couple people. But you really got to see how this is staged. I mean, it's very funny. I mean, because like the way they come, it's just like inherently intimidating for Al and his associate even to see the Doobies. Like just the sight of them, even before seeing the cop, like they backtrack right away when they see the Doobies.
Yeah.
They come out, and the best probably is Skunk Baxter coming out with his walking stick, kind of like pointing it at him, like and pressing him back with that. But I think maybe Gary Saney might have been in the first, the first batch.
The front door.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the best. And then
I mean, it was really good, and
Al gets dragged away to the Uskow.
Yeah, presumably to spend a long time locked away, or maybe you think the Doobie Brothers dispensed a little frontier justice beforehand? I mean, the cop was right there. The cop could have looked the other way, maybe, while the Doobies roughed him up, but
no, I think they just got some dinner.
Yeah, probably.
Hung out with Raj and Rerun and Dwayne a little more.
Yeah, probably ordered a lot of cheeseburgers and a lot of French fries.
Yeah, but there's also the catch, the final nail in Al Dunbar's coffin. That Rerun's tape only recorded him eating popcorn.
Ah, yes, that's right. That's right. So even if he had gotten away with it, he wouldn't have gotten away with it. Crime does not pay, not even for Al Dunbar.
Exactly.
So the Doobies get the satisfaction of helping make the arrest. Like, does that count as a citizen's arrest?
Yeah.
Like intimidating people and just blocking them from leaving? I give them credit for that.
Yeah. I don't know if does it count as one if the cops are with you? I'll give him credit, though.
It's a little ambiguous,
Yeah. Now, the other the thing that would have made it super cool or super duper cool, or whatever superlative I need to add to it to just make it even more, is if they had...
Out of sight.
If they had done, if they had led everybody out of Rob's singing the a cappella part of Taking It to the Street as they walked into the street.
They certainly could have done that. Yeah, yeah. Well, they didn't do it, but I still think they they left on a high note, and
Yeah.
not one of Michael McDonald's high notes, but
No.
a creative high note.
Well, I think I enjoyed this episode more talking about it than I.
You know,
It just I will say. I mean, maybe because most of the second episode was music.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't seem quite as sharp as some of those season 1 episodes.
true.
But-
Yeah. It's entertaining, but not as high quality now. These episodes were written by, I believe, off mic earlier this year. I believe I talked to you about my theory, or what I'd seen about the decline of What's Happening, and how I'd seen like the same name crop up as a writer of some of these episodes.
Uh-huh.
And I believe that person, she was responsible for writing these 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So I will give her credit for that. Interestingly enough, if I'm not mistaken, she was at one point, and I think it was actually, well, she was the wife of George Carlin.
Huh.
And actually, I think the widow of George Carlin, perhaps.
Huh. Let's
And
see if I can.
Now, the sexist thing would be to assume, like, oh, well, she's writing for a sitcom. George Carlin must have been helping her punch up the What's Happening scripts. But I don't think that was happening. I think one thing about season 3, like, the fat jokes become even more pronounced. It becomes more like generic put-down humor and insults and kind of a decline in the show. Season 1 has some different writing voices. So I give her credit, though. This is a good...
So she is his widow, but they were married 1998 to 2008.
Okay.
So she might have not even known George Carlin.
Sally Wade, I believe is her name, right?
That is her name. She also wrote for You Again.
You Again with Jack Klugman.
And it's John Stamos.
Yeah.
And ER, the sitcom.
Oh, Elliot Gould and George Clooney.
Mm-hmm. Isn't Costanza on that too?
Maybe he was, yeah.
Jason Alex, yeah.
Nice.
And Clooney.
We'll have to cover these in future seasons.
And 1 in a Million.
Oh, that was Shirley Hemphel's
Oh, okay.
vehicle in the 80s.
And then something before that called the Waverly Brothers. Waverly Wonders. Joe Namath.
Yeah. Not a lot of big hits here, but...
Just a story credit. But yeah, she does have a bunch of... I mean, it's only listing, like it's a see-all thing, but it's only listing...
Well, I don't want to...
Three in season 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in season 3.
Yeah, I think I just somehow seemed her name propping up, and I was getting increasingly frustrated with season 3. It just didn't work. But and one thing I kind of want to go back to, like, the family, which you don't really see here, but like the family element of it. Mm-hmm. One thing I kind of liked about the show was that Raj and Dee, like, they didn't get along.
Yeah.
They did fight. I mean, ultimately, yeah, they had episodes where they loved each other and they did nice things, but they also, like, just insulted each other a lot and were kind of mean to each other for no apparent reason a lot of times, which kind of gave it a little realism. And I really like the dynamic and the fact of, I mean, we didn't even really, Mabel King was not in this episode at all. Or no.
She was in the bit, yeah.
She was. Bit. She was, but that's right. When they're in, because they do start up. But Mabel King, one of the things we didn't get into, some of, like, the catchphrase, like Mabel King, Mama bear hugging Raj to give him an affectionate hug, and then him saying he can't. Mama, yes, Raj, I can't breathe. And then she'd kind of laugh, and they just they kind of lost sight of what happened. I think, like, in the first time you see their dad, he's like a con man clearly, and then they softened him, I think, for the better of the show. So by the time, like, the Christmas episode and later episodes, he's actually like a nice guy, and you get the impression like it just didn't work out between him and Mama.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, like, the first time you see him, like, yeah, he actually is trying to swindle her, and you can understand why Dee is so wary of him.
Yeah.
But later they kind of, like, changed his character a little bit for the better, which is why it was so disappointing to me when I saw him in What's Happening Now.
Uh-huh.
And they made it clear that they said that, like, they were estranged, like Raj and Bill were not getting along after Bill remarried, which made no sense because everybody had come to terms with Bill's new woman. So
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to say is the first season is good, and there's a lot of, like, famous episodes like the Doobie Brothers in the second season, and there's the one where Rerun goes on the Gong Show, and he's got, like, they manage like a singing group who was like a Broadway play, and they do the Bubbling Brown Sugar, which is like a famous episode that a lot of people would recognize, where this kid sings Bubbling Brown Sugar about 15 times in that single episode. But, so, yeah, I'd avoid the third season if you're not going to watch all 65 episodes. But I think the first season, I think you'd be surprised if you go in thinking it's just like a dumb kid show. Yeah. It's actually a lot better than that. And there's a lot of good acting on the show and some good writing in the first season.
I'll second that based on what I've seen.
Yeah.
But, again, I haven't seen it all.
Yet.
Maybe I did when I was a kid. I don't know. The Doobie Brothers one is really the only one I remember.
Do you have any, and how about, should we make our Doobie Brothers recommendations?
Music is a doctor.
Yeah. I listened to a lot of Michael McDonald, Doobie Brothers. There, that was on a lot in my household growing up. I'll say that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really know Doobie Brothers.
Well, What a Fool
much.
Believes is great.
Yeah.
Minute by Minute is a great song.
But
They had some chops.
I mean, taking it to the street, you can't
Yeah.
deny the infectious groove of that. I guess Blackwater's okay.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
I don't know China Grove well. Like, I mostly associate China Grove with Guitar Rock commercials. You know that collection?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I well remember
Yes.
that. I loved it.
I don't think I knew that song before that, and it surprised me because other Doobie Brothers and Michael McDonald I'd heard was
Yeah.
not quite as aggressive as that. So.
Yeah, that was, I guess, well, the Doobie Brothers have had their ups and downs in different cycles, but much like what's happening, there's high points, some low points, but ultimately both acts have endured for these many years.
Yes. Since we're here talking about that, I heard last weekend I heard someone call the 70s a golden age of music.
The 70s, a golden age of music.
Yeah, I was skeptical of that.
Really?
Of it being a golden age. Like the mid to late 60s to the end of the 60s, I would say, is a golden age of rock music. I think there's good stuff in the 70s, but there's also a lot of...
Drek?
Yes. Like I suggested maybe it was a tarnished age.
Tarnished age.
Yeah. And now the guy saying this was someone who, is of an age where he was there.
Yeah, well, that's probably a big part of it, yeah.
And he was talking a lot about band, I think maybe your dad, Little Feat.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because it was the anniversary of the guy from Little Feat who died.
Okay.
His death.
Yeah.
So.
Well, depending
I
on
don't
what you
know.
prize.
Yeah.
It might have been a golden age for like kind of jam band kind of things and that sort
Right.
of things kind of really getting off the ground.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Springsteen and Tom Petty, I love them, but
I think haven't we had this? Didn't we talk one time about like if you could only listen to one decade of music, which decade would you pick?
I think we probably.
And I picked the '60s without even thinking about it.
Yeah, I think I would pick that too.
Just based, you can even
Just
pick
'cause
like
of
the
the
last
Beatles.
5 years of this.
Yeah, I mean because he
the
made
Beatles, Motown.
he made the point that the early '60s were not
Yeah,
great, and which is true.
yeah.
That
But-
post Elvis, Chuck Berry, and pre Beatles era was a little weaker, but
But even then, I might take a lot of the early '60s over a lot of the late '70s.
yeah,
So yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a golden era of.
yeah, personally I wouldn't.
I'd call it a golden era of television,
Yeah,
as we've learned with great shows like What's Happening.
possibly Fool's Gold, but
Shows like What's Happening, Fantasy Island, Love Boat, Operation Petticoat.
yeah, just that night, what a golden era of ABC.
Yeah.
Think about it. What's Happening was probably one of their lesser shows.
Yeah, it really was, and yet it's I guess being a sitcom helps, but yeah, it's still around and it's on reruns right now.
Yeah, Rerun is in reruns.
Yes, he always will be.
Yeah.
He'll never graduate, but he'll always be in reruns. I think he did graduate, finally leave school by the time of What's Happening Now.
Oh, good.
Maybe someday we'll get to What's Happening Now, but I doubt it.
Now, he must have graduated by season 3, right?
Yes,
He was living in an apartment.
Yes, he was. They were like moved on to like college
Yeah.
and he was getting like real jobs and stuff. So
Oh, yeah, he was an ABC page or
yes,
something?
he was a page. Yeah. So I think I'd rather explore the phenomenon of the first run syndicated '80s sitcom with the show other than What's Happening sometime, but
Okay.
or other than What's Happening Now. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
but I do find it interesting that the show was brought back and actually lasted that long.
Right.
It's kind of an unusual thing
Well enough.
for a network show to come back and then stay that long. That long after the fact too. Like it was like 6 years later, I think, or something.
Yeah.
So quite a legacy.
Yeah. All right. Let's take it to the street.
I'm there, man. Hey. A lot of people these days think it's cool to illegally record rock concerts with big tape recorders under their coats. They think everyone deserves to hear this music, not just people who paid for tickets. They even think it's okay to make money for themselves off these concerts. Well, the FBI, the music industry, the Doobie Brothers, and we think differently. We think if you want to hear the music, you should pay for it. Listen, we're not getting paid to say this. We just think it's right. If you think we're uncool for saying you shouldn't bootleg concerts, then you're wrong. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network Shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows and like our Facebook page. facebook.com/Battle of the Network shows.